Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I believe we have Abel and Razaz there. Anybody else there? Anyways, welcome to the preventive care grand rounds. We stopped for a while, and then we are trying to restart it. And then I decided to talk a little bit about plagiarism. I'm gonna change the way that we have done the grand rounds for a while. It's not that I'm gonna change, I'm gonna add things on that. So once in a while, you will have people that will come to talk, and we will do things like this one for the students, for academics. But sometimes we are gonna just talk about preventive care and the difficulties and the things that you feel in the program, so we can discuss a little more and try to improve some of the aspects of the program. And also we will have case studies. I mean, I'm gonna bring, and that's what I'm gonna try to do that in the next session. Bring a case, present a case for us, and discuss what would be the best approach, or if the approach that we took is good. So those are the things that are gonna be new. Well, today we'll talk about plagiarism, the art of presenting other ideas or work as your own. Of course, this is a joke. I mean, all the thing here is a joke, okay? And another joke here, to be or not to be. So I am introducing my new cartoon, John Wellness. Plagiarism, I know. But how can I ask written permission from a guy that died 400 years ago? I hope you got that one. I will start with a case report. I used to have this student when I was a professor in the Master in Public Health course. Is a course that we have for the Master in Public Health program. And then the Turnitin is the mechanism, is the device, is the software that we use to check for plagiarism. And then he gave 90%. When Turnitin is kind of 20%, 10%, I don't pay much attention. But when he got to 90%, it means that something was not right there. So I went to check, and he was matching a student that was in my course 1 year before. And the student was an international student, he's still in the school. So I called the guy and say, did you share this, your paper with somebody? And then he mentioned about my student that was turning the paper. Yeah, I showed him my paper because he want to have some idea how to do the paper. And then I told him, well, he simply copied your paper, so that's not good. And then he said, well, I didn't know that he would copy this, and that's messed up. He copied he changed a little bit the words, but the sequence, the whole paper was the same paper practically. And then I confronted the student. I brought him to my office, and then he cried. I will tell you, was the only time I have a student crying in my office. And then he said, well, I'm sorry, I was busy, stressed out, and so I didn't have much to do, and so and then I was thinking, boy, for you to do this work, you have to copy the whole thing, and you have to put with your own words, so it's almost as you do a new work. So I gave a chance for him to resubmit his paper, and then he had a very lower grade, but he ended up passing the program and the course. So that's my first case of plagiarism. After that, I have a few others, but it's complicated why people get into grad school and still try to do some high school style stuff. Okay, in preventive care, where plagiarism can occur, it can occur during course assignments, in the discussion board. Sometimes people just cut and paste and put there. Could occur in final papers, final exams, in the comprehensive exams, in dissertation proposals, dissertation defense, and publishable papers. So all across the academics, you have opportunities for plagiarism. And then I put my grandson, my granddaughter's picture here. Please don't do it. What is plagiarism? Plagiarism is presenting someone else's work or ideas as your own. I put the art because, in fact, it is an art. You have to use some skills to do that. But it is, I would say, infamous art, okay? With or without their consent, or incorporating their ideas without full acknowledgement. And just for you to know, plagiarism can be considered a crime. Like if you write a paper and you put a citation there in that paper, and that citation was not correct, the guy that wrote that article that you put a citation can sue you or charge you for criminal charge because you cite the guy wrongly. You see, he can go to this point. It doesn't happen much because we don't check much who is citing ourselves. I might have maybe what 20 or 30 citations from my articles, and I don't check who is citing and that's why we don't have. But there is a potential for that if you do so. There is a funny story that I had in Brazil. Was a TV program when a comedian will come and then present to the guest, to the host, his new invention. And then he would come and say, okay, he brought a device full of valves and lamps and wires. And then he would say, you know, we can listen to this. We can listen to music from this device, and we can listen to news and talks. And then the host will look at him and he would say, hey, this is a radio. And then he would he would finish with that saying, Americans are always ahead of me. And for Brazil, this was very funny because he brought something that was already invented. It's just an illustration of, at least the guy was honest with his plagiarism. There are 4 types of plagiarism. So we go with them one by one. The first is direct plagiarism, when someone properly copy text and does not mention who he or she copied from. It is a direct copy, is a copy and paste. And it should be put under quotations with a reference number or reference name and listed on the reference page. But if you don't do so, this is plagiarism. The writer of the original text can take disciplinary actions against the plagiarist. So this is the most common, not the most common, but this is the most classic example of plagiarism. Then we have the mosaic. Mosaic is a little broad, usually unintentional when someone cites an author in the reference list or other way, but does not acknowledge exactly the text copied and does not have quotation marks. Sometimes he doesn't put the name on the reference on the citation, only on the reference. And sometimes it's paraphrasing what a person says and without any mention of the source of what he was writing. This is mosaic plagiarism. Let's go to the other two types. Then we have self-plagiarism. This is very common in college and graduate school, and this is mostly what they do in some of our courses. With the exception of that student that copy from other students, many students think that it's okay to copy something that you submit for another course. It is not okay. Sometimes some teachers will accept that. Like if you took my class in last semester, sometimes I might say, okay, well, last quarter, we don't use semester here. It's okay, you can submit again. I never accept that, by the way. If you are doing this course, this is the course, don't copy anything. Why are you gonna copy it? This is another course. And then it's not honest to copy material that even you did, but you didn't do for this course. I'm saying that because some of my colleagues might accept that, but I don't accept, and I don't think is correct. Still, it might be a problem for some academic research papers if you kind of publish something and then you mention about your publication without mentioning or making a reference of that, even though it's not a big deal if it was you that wrote this, okay? But self-plagiarism is very common in these settings of academic. Then we have accidental plagiarism, when someone misquotes something and then was citing sources not properly or citing wrong sources. For academics, citing sources that are not the real original sources. It is very common when you copy or when you cite things that are written in a paper but was not the original work of that author. I will give you an example in the next page for that. But wrong citations in published papers can take a disciplinary action by the original author against a plagiarist. So if you mention something that was written by someone, and this someone was citing from someone else, and so you create a mess there. If someone is checking, you might get in trouble. Again, not many people check, but it's not the reason for you to do so. My advice is that try to go to the original author. Don't copy from others that are cited, because this is not honest, that this is not correct. You have to go for the original, for who was the first that did the study. So let's talk about an accidental type of plagiarism. I put here, exercise is good for dental health. This is all imaginary, okay? This is not real things, okay? So you found a citation that the exercise is good for dental health by Den and Toll. Okay, I invented this. Don't check on me on that. Don't go to Google Scholar to see if there is something like that, because I invented this, okay? I didn't copy any from anybody. Then, when you go to Den and Toll, you find that their article was about dental health and sugar and was nothing about exercise. However, when they wrote the background, they cited a study on the influence of exercise and dental health, but Mu and V. In that case, you cannot use Den and Toll in your citation. You have to go back and check on Mu and V and put mu v because they did the original work. And then you are citing properly. So that's my advice for you, to be careful when you do citations, mostly when you have someone mentioning work of somebody else. Of course, this is complicated when you have a reviewing or a review article. A review article is not someone that is writing about their own study. A review article is that when they compile the whole thing. But the principle is the same. When they compile the whole thing and they mention something, you should go to the original article. Don't quote this person saying that because he was just mentioning some other source. So that's how we should do correctly our citations in our research. This was a very shameful thing. We have one preventive care student that was taught on plagiarism, and it was in a religion class. Can you believe that? And more than that, was in an ethics course. I cannot believe that a preventive care student would do such a thing in a religion course and in an ethics course. That's too much. But she came to talk to me, and that the religious teacher was not fair. And then I asked, why? What do you mean not fair? Well, he think I am plagiarizing. And then I said, well, were you plagiarizing? And then she said, well, I mean, I research, I mean, we are used to do that. She was a physician, by the way. She was a physician. You might not know who is it because I'm not going to mention. We have several physicians in our course, in our program, and I cannot identify those guys. Okay, it's a private matter, but it happens many years ago. You would not even know that person. But she was a physician, and she told me that in her country they used to do that all the time. So they put the things there, and then in the reference list, they put a bunch of names, and that's it. And then I told her, well, you can do that for a talk that is not academic, but in the academics, you cannot. So if you give a talk in the street, or if you write for a lay paper, that's fine. You can just put a reference. You don't need to be very specific. But when you do something for academics, you have to put the number, you put the name, and put the reference, and then put in the list exactly as it is. And if you cut and paste, well, even in the lay things, if you cut and paste something, you have to put the reference. When I write and I copy, I usually, for the lay articles, if I copy and paste something, I put between commas and put the reference right after that, because I don't want them to go to reference list in the end of the article. This is a lay thing. But she said that she was used to do that. And then I went to talk to the teacher, and then the teacher was kind of upset. He said that the student the student copied several texts without quotation marks, and even mentioned the source in the reference list. And then I say, ooh, this is complicated. How can I defend that student? I don't know what happened. As I know, she was not, she didn't have a good grade on that program. But she was able to pass that one. Anyways, let's move forward here. Just be careful with your citations. Do not copy texts. That's what I would advise. Use your words. But if the ideas and findings are from someone else, place the correct reference of you made the statement, and then go back and put in the reference list. I mean, many of you use end notes for that, so it might be automatic if you set in the beginning. Do always original work for your courses. Copying former work is really not honesty. So I would not accept if you copy something from your own course, whatever it is. And sometimes I have students that copy from former courses a group work. They work there with 4 or 5 people, and they wrote something, and this student went there and copied. It was not even her that did the writing, it was someone else. But she thought that she could use those things. Be careful to represent the author's idea clearly on your citations without twisting meanings or inserting your own ideas. So sometimes we think the author is saying that, and then if we insert our own ideas, we might create a problem if someone will check that. And this is not very uncommon in the scientific circles, when we go to high levels and you affirm something, and the thing that you affirm was not really what the person was saying. And then you might get in trouble, and you might get into liabilities there that you have to be careful. Copy ideas, but not text. So I remember I wrote a book about humor, and then I check for the copyrights, because humor is very popular. There are some jokes that are being said for years, and then we don't even know who is the author of those. And then I was checking the copyrights of those, and then in the copyright edition, they were saying, well, if you copy a joke that is mentioned on TV by an author, is specifically equally, or you copy and paste that joke, I mean, you are liable, and the guy can charge you. But the idea, if you have the same or similar idea and you kind of use that in a different way, we cannot charge, and that's something that it can happen to us. So you can have an idea that is similar, but my advice is that avoid to copy from people. Avoid, and when you copy the idea from someone, just mention who was there and what he did, what did the person say, because this is safe for you and safe for everyone. Parlare noto plagiare. So these words come from Latin, and this specifically here is in Italian. Parlare means talk, speak, say. Plagiare is take ideas from someone else. It's like stealing. The commandments say, thou shalt not steal. Once you use ideas from someone else, you are not doing good. And I got this from Google, okay? It was Google translation. I was clear to put this here. And this is a joke here with me and Pavarotti, Panvarotti and Pavarotti. And then let's finish with this Bible verse. All you need to say is simply yes or no. Anything beyond this comes from the devil, from the evil one. Matthew 5:37. So we should follow what we do. We should write what is in our minds, and avoid copying material. It's not that it's forbidden to use other material. You can do that, but cite properly. Cite properly, And be careful when you make comments on what they said. Do not include your comments on their conclusions. You make the comments after the quotation marks and then specify what you think about that. That's no problem at all. And that's all for today, folks. Let me share my screen. And then we have a lot of time here. Well, we don't need to stay here for 1 hour, but let's open for a few questions or a few interaction with the audience here. I'm going to stop